Today, we're diving into a truly radical idea. I mean, it sits right at the intersection of Indigenous rights, quantum computing, and, well, outer space. It's a vision for a future where data sovereignty gets written literally in the stars. But before we blast off, let's ground ourselves with a really fundamental question. It's for you, it's for me, it's for everyone. Who actually owns the data that tells your story? This question, it turns out, is at the absolute heart of a new global power struggle. You know, for Indigenous peoples, this is anything but a theoretical debate. It's a real-time fight against something called digital colonialism. Think about it like this. A big corporation patents a medicine based on traditional plants, and the community that stewarded that knowledge for generations sees none of the benefit. That's what we're talking about. A new kind of extraction, where culture, biology, and stories are taken and controlled by outsiders. Okay, so let's dig into this crisis of data a bit more. Because really, to understand why the solution is so brilliant, you have to get a handle on just how deep the problem on the ground really is. This slide really lays out the fundamental clash in worldviews perfectly. On one side, you've got the FAIR principles. They're dominant in Western science, and it's all about making data open and shareable. But on the other side, you have the CARE principles, which were developed by Indigenous leaders. And they say, hang on a second. Before we share anything, we have to talk about collective benefit. Who has the authority to control it? And what our responsibilities and ethics are. It's a massive shift from just openness to prioritizing rights. So, with all these challenges in how we govern data down here on Earth, a pretty wild question comes up. Where else can we go? And the answer, maybe surprisingly, is up. So let's explore the next frontier, because a potential solution might just be waiting for us in Earth's orbit. And let me be perfectly clear about this. Moving data centers to space is not some far-off sci-fi dream anymore. It is happening right now. In fact, it's quickly becoming the next great geopolitical race. And you can see the major players are already making their moves. You've got Beijing with this massive plan for a gigawatt-scale data center. Then there's Google, which is already launching its Suncatcher prototypes with AI hardware on board. And of course, you have the big tech giants like Amazon and NVIDIA pouring money into startups to get their own AI computing up there. The race is definitely on. So why space? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, the advantages are just huge. You get perpetual solar energy. The sun never sets up there. You get infinite cooling in the vacuum of space, which is a massive problem for data centers on Earth. Plus, you get incredible security, and with reusable rockets, the cost of just getting there is dropping like a rock. It's finally becoming practical. So it's right in the middle of this new space race that a totally different, a truly sovereign vision is taking shape. And this, right here, is the core idea we're exploring today. This quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? The idea for an Indigenous AI data center in space isn't about creating some cold storage locker in the sky. No, it's imagined as a star camp, a sovereign territory, an extension of the land, where cultural continuity and advanced technology can exist together. Now, I know this all sounds incredibly futuristic, but what's so cool is that it's actually built on a long history of innovation. Just look at this 1947 patent for a cryogenic tank. This kind of tech, which is essential for working in the cold of space, is a direct ancestor to what you'd need for a star camp. It's this amazing reminder that the wild ideas of today are always built on the breakthroughs of the past. So how does this actually get done? Well, it's not just a dream, there's a practical roadmap. Phase 1, called the grounding, is all about doing the work here on Earth first. Step 1, form the Indigenous Space Agency, a group of nations working together. Step 2, and this is crucial, build a sovereign simulator to create and test the quantum encryption that will keep the data safe. And finally, do the vital work of bringing at-risk data archives back home, to secure places, getting them ready for their eventual trip to orbit. Okay, and this is where the idea goes from brilliant to, well, to truly profound. The plan isn't just about using any old computers. It's about using quantum technologies. And the reason for that goes so much deeper than just processing speed. It's about a philosophical alignment. For a long time, classical Western science basically saw the universe as a collection of separate little objects, kind of like billiard balls bouncing around. But many Indigenous worldviews have always talked about interconnectedness, about relationships, and about how the act of observing something actually helps shape reality. So, what happens when our technology finally starts to catch up with that ancient wisdom? Well, that's where quantum physics comes in. And its core ideas, like entanglement, where two particles are linked no matter how far apart they are, non-locality, where touching one instantly affects the other, and the observer effect, where just measuring something changes it, they sound incredibly similar to those very same indigenous principles. And that brings us to this powerful central metaphor: quantum entanglement as digital kinship. The idea is that the unbreakable bonds between two particles is a perfect model for the unbreakable bonds between data and the community it comes from. The technology itself actually reflects a worldview where everything and everyone is related. So this all leads us to the final and maybe the most revolutionary part of this whole project: how it could completely rechart the legal map and the philosophical map of space itself. To really get it, you have to look at the laws we have for space. The main one, the Outer Space Treaty, was signed way back in 1967. It was designed for a world where only the US and the Soviet Union went to space. It was never built for an era of private companies and international groups, and that has created this fascinating legal gray zone. See, the treaty says the launching state is responsible for whatever goes up. But what happens when the operator isn't a state at all? What if it's a consortium of indigenous nations from all over the globe? Well, that creates a regulatory vacuum. And it's right there in that vacuum that a whole new kind of sovereignty could be born. And that leaves us with this final thought. What we've been talking about is a form of indigenous futurism, using ancient knowledge to imagine a radically different future. It suggests sovereignty isn't just about lines on a map down here on Earth. So if territory can be written in the stars, what other incredible futures, what other amazing possibilities have we just not allowed ourselves to imagine yet?